was abhorrent. It was horrible. So I kept trying until 1968.
That is trying to join Biafra army. That's what you mean, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Until 1968, when I was recruited. I was recruited in Umuaka, and trained at St. Saviour's Umuaka, and shifted. My pass-out set was used to start the 14th Division, 1st Strike Force Battalion. What we did mainly was go in, ease battalions that are stagnant, help them move their front line forward. While we are moving, they'll be digging trenches behind us. We pull back and they fall into the trench and retain the location, or gain the ground. We did that for 63 locations, for the battalion, 47 battalion, and these battalions were under 14 division. The war continued to grind.
So you mean, sir, you mean your battalion, your own sector was like a crack team? Is that what you mean?
It was, we were the first strike force battalion. We didn't have an axis per se. We just went around all the axes occupied by 14 divisions. And when we finish, we come back to base, regroup, and then we posted to different sectors.
About the hot.
About the hot and stagnant, and they're having problems. We will be relocated in there to help them fight, move the enemy back, and then while we are moving the enemy back, the battalion itself will be digging trenches behind us. As we go, they keep digging trenches until they fall into where we say, okay, we've held them at bay. Then we move out. As we're moving out, they move into the trenches they've dug and hold the location.
So, if I may ask my chief, please, is Mariam, because I'm trying to capture this place. I think it's important. Is it more? Do you live in the United States here, or where do you live if I may ask, if it's important, if you may be able to tell me, please?
I am out of the country. I'm not in the country.
You don't have to tell me. Okay, so why I'm asking, because the military here have some names. What I'm trying to understand, is it more of a special force? Is that what you wear, a special force? You support roles, you go in, you clear, you make an inroad for the other forces to engage, then you pull back and go. Is that what you say? That in America they call them like special forces? Okay, thank you.
It was termed a first strike force battalion. It was a battalion of we were fluid, we were ready to go, and when we go, we don't stay there and hold the ground. So we were call it a relief battalion. We go there and relieve people and move the fight forward to gain more ground and then pull back. So the areas we have captured, they will occupy that area and we move back and go to other sectors to help them. That's what we did mainly. And we lost men. We lost men and we gained ammunition. We were not well equipped, but we ended up capturing enough ammunition to keep the war going. The war would have continued, but for the blockade that didn't allow sources and resources to come into the Biafra land. So we were outmanned, out weapon, out sources, but our strength and resolve was stronger than theirs. So the war was lopsided. If we had what they had with our limited number, we would have driven the war into the territories where they will feel that there is a war going on. Because during the war, all activities were normal. Because they brought the war to us, we didn't take the war to them. Simply because we didn't have the capacity to take the war to them. And when we tried to do that, we were confronted with saboteurs who didn't feel that they should go with us. And that set us back a great deal. So it was a war of atrocity. It was a war of wars. It was a war of all nations ganging up against one little part of the country. Why? Nobody could tell. So he was, as a young man that had his future in front of him, I didn't know which way we were going. At least I was convinced that we have to fight for our survival. I didn't want the soldiers to come into my village and massacre my parents and do all sorts of things that soldiers do. So we wanted to stay alive. And we fought to stay alive. We surrendered not because we were done. We surrendered because we did not like the view of our little children dying for lack of nutrition or malnutrition. So now that this venture has been reactivated, my advice to all
Mazi, before you come to that, because it should be at the ending, we will come to that. But before we come to that, about the today's issue, I want you to, if you can recall, you started by talking about your recruitment. Can you give us maybe your personal experiences on some battlefields? If you could, you can mention names of places, because that is what many listeners might be trying to capture. Please go on, sir.
Okay. We were trained with a rifle by name Mark III, MACK 3, and Mark 4. Mark 3 and Mark 4 rifles are cock and shoot, and they are long barrel rifles. There was also the team rifle. There was also a team rifle that had a magazine for about 9 or 10 bullets. So you can load 10 bullets and put one in the chamber and cock the rifle. So you end up getting yourself about 10 bullets, and they all semi-automatic. But as the war raged on, we were able to capture the Madison rifle, which has a curved magazine. The LMGs and HMGs were few and selected because I think we got those from the Enugu Armory before the war. Because of my age and the size, the pushback on Mark 4 and Mark 3 rifles were too strong for my shoulder. So I was equipped with a Madison rifle, which is shorter. There are buttless Madison, and there's also butted Madison rifles. The issue with Madison rifle is that the velocity or the point of impact, the speed continues to increase and go up as you fire it, because it's an automatic rifle. So what you do is you start low. By the time it gets to the height of going over the head of a human object, you've lowered your rifle again. So you just shoot up, shoot down, and shoot up as it's going. We made it a point of duty to make sure that we surprise the enemy, because when we surprise them, we will be able to capture their uniform. Mind you, our uniform was cotton that is dyed in a way to make it look like a camouflage. The camouflage khaki uniform were those we captured from the enemy. Just remove the insignia and put our Biafra insignia on it, and you can move on. The 911 truck that we got, we captured them from them. So this battalion was out there, always on the move. We don't come back. We come back to spend maybe 1 week in camp, and we'll be deployed again to different locations. My experience was that of a young man. My experience was that of a strong human being that had a purpose. We, as Biafran soldiers, were dedicated. We knew what our mission is or was, and we knew where we were going. We were strong-minded, strong-headed. We really meant business. But you cannot fight a war all by yourself. The moment you're surrendered, you have to find a way out. And you have to have scouts that go in and come out and find locations before we can take up an operation. Three or 4 miles away, so that the enemy will not hear the sound of the vehicle, and then from there we will walk. We weren't walking on the road, walking in pathways. We have been because the war was a very crude war. We weren't as armed as the enemies, and we captured the majority of the enemies, and we captured their equipment and resources. Towards the end of the war, they started poisoning their food so that if we capture it, it won't be useful to us. But it was a war of genocide. I saw people die before me, beside me. I even saw people that were not even in the war front being hit by mortar bullets. I saw people that weren't. For example, I lost my CSM. He was not in the war front. He just came to the RV. We lost so many people. And we were always determined. We were always determined to do something for ourselves and to safeguard our people.
Mazi, were you paid that time as a Biafran soldiers? Were you paid?
They were giving us war allowance. They were paying us war allowance because even though we were being fed in the military, we have to buy things from hawkers around who come to us our RVs. We were being given allowance, and the promise was after the war you'll be paid your full salary, but they didn't pay because the war didn't end well, and nobody was responsible for anybody. Yeah, we've been paid war allowance and trade allowance. It was a one-sided war. Go ahead.
Chief Omaribe, I'm going to ask you one or two questions, and please, any question I ask you and you can decline. You have the right to decline. You don't have to answer me.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to feed my curiosity.
Go ahead.
I'm going to take you a little bit back. I want to lay a foundation. I know you mentioned that you're from Awam Mama.
Yes.
And you were raised in Port Harcourt. How many siblings? You were born and raised in Port Harcourt. Okay. Yeah. So how many siblings are you?
My mom had 9 children. I'm the second oldest.
You're the second
oldest. Yeah.
Oldest. Okay. Yeah. So in your how many males were in your family?
6 males and 3 females.
And out of those 6 males, how many of them, apart from you, were involved in Biafran military or struggle or agitation?
My senior brother and myself and I.
Okay, brilliant, well, great. Because these things, why I brought it in, we need to, in as much as we are interviewing you, somebody like me would like to identify the roles your family or the price has paid, because as we are ongoing now with the same almost deja vu, is to let other people know that who are fallen heroes, those who are falling, those who are yet to fall, and maybe one of them, that at the end of the day, if we succeed in actualizing Biafra, which I believe this time we're going to be able to do that, it may be a protracted event, that our names are not going to get in vain, that we are going to be remembered. So having said that, the next thing I would like to know is, were there things like your family orientation, experiences you had in life, exposures, or education, what were the things that inspired you as a young man to have this patriotic lifestyle or mindset? Please, I would like to know. I would like you to tell us if you can.
Well, for one, my education was interrupted. When we were told to go home in 1967 from school, because I lived in boarding school all throughout my education. When we were told to go home, that there's a war has broken out. we all went home, roaming the streets doing nothing. And there was the radio announcements by Kokundem and the war being announced and spoken about over the radio, and the gains and the losses being also brought up so people can understand what is going on. For example, the Hiyamafu axis, the Suka axis, the Nkalago axis, where people were coming, where the soldiers were coming and we were being confronted by our gallant Biafran forces. Being in the middle of where I was, you cannot sit on your hands and watch the events unfold the way they were without saying, I have to go out there and help defend my people. I can't, in my honest opinion, expect my father to get up and go join the army and go start fighting the war for me. So I had to go do it. And since my elder brother has joined, and he's gallantly enough doing okay, I think his first post was in Suka axis, Nkalago axis. So I looked up to him and felt that I'm of age to go in and help. One of my next sibling was a girl. The next one was a girl. The third one, the next one was a girl, and then the boy, a boy. So we are six boys and three girls, and it fell on me to go and defend my people, and that I did, and I don't regret it. I'll do it again. If I have the strength, if God gives me the strength, I will do it again, and I'll do it again.
Mazi, Chief, you know why I asked this question, I'm happy for the answers you're giving. Why I asked this question, it was deliberate. You know, what I'm sensing from the answer you gave me, what I'm deducing is that you felt a sense of call of duty. And if I may ask quickly, how old were you again, please, Chief?
I would be 71 years old tomorrow.
No, I mean then, how old were you then as a young man?
I was 16.
16?
16, 1-6.
Yes, sir. Now, why I ask this question, because there was something you referenced right now quickly. You mentioned Ihamufu and Nkalago sector. Yes. It's like we are witnessing a deja vu again. So what is telling somebody like me is that these are areas that have been a stress factor for us. Now, for you, a young man at 16, you could have been doing what some of our even 20, 22-year-old men are doing today in Biafra land. Yeah. They don't want to be involved in the struggle. They are busy doing comedy. It's like what is happening, they don't reference to it. But you, even then, as a 16-year-old man, young man, felt the duty to defend not just your immediate family. Because I'm listening to you, said, it felt on me because I was the second son. My elder brother was already in the game. My other siblings were females. I felt the duty to defend them. That's really what you just said. My question to you, Mazi, now, I'm giving you a lot of accolade and kudos, but I want you to help us to decipher the psychology of our people we are seeing now, because I believe a group of people or any particular culture, they have a genetic value. What happened to us? Why is it that some of our young men and women today are not seeing the essence or the immediate need of what you felt years back? They're not seeing it. They are not realizing that what made us to lose the war was sabotage. And a lot of them are engaging in the same thing. You begin to ask yourself questions. Is history repeating itself, Mazi? I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to walk and listen to you to give me an answer, because I know you have a lot you can tell us. Mazi, please.
Thank you, madam. My generation was crafted differently. Call it nature or call it nurture. People in my generation felt a sense of purpose. If you remember correctly, Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu John Gowon was 32 years old when he was made Chief of Army Staff. Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu was 33 years old when he was made the Governor of Eastern Nigeria. Fajuyi and the rest of them were in their early 30s. Now, point out a 40-year-old man in Nigeria, in Biafra land, who is not living still of the labors of his parents, who has a sense of responsibility enough to go carve out his own route. Not very many. So, what does well during your time propels or fails you? Major Ifeanyi, if I Major Ifeanyi, Major Kaduna Nzogu, all these young majors that said we don't like what is happening in Nigeria, therefore we have to change things and take this law by our hands and change things. We don't like people being in prison for political purposes. We don't want to see any of this is happening. And that was why the coup of January 1966 took place. They didn't say, oh, we want to be sectional. Let's go to Eastern Nigeria or go to Western Nigeria. They said, we want what is right for our nation. When they had Aburi agreement and Aburi Accord, what they decided at that time would have stopped this war. But when the two men came back, their permanent sects decided that they don't want this happening, and therefore the war broke out. When the Nigerian army was coming to fight the Easterners, they had a 911 truck loaded with kobokos. They were coming to flog people in the country, in Biafra. They didn't come to fight us; they came to flog them into submission. So if you want to know why people now are not doing maybe a resemblance of what we did and how we took things, was because people, Igbos, were massacred in the north. The Muslims will go to the mosque and decide on something and come out and start killing their own neighbors. People were running away and coming back east. So you cannot shoot a man that has his back to you. It's no longer a threat. So why would they chase us back into the east? Would they want to? Was their plan to drive us back into the Atlantic Ocean or into the Bight of Biafra or Gulf of Guinea? What was the intention? It didn't make sense to us. And in class 3, at that time, we were beginning to learn what is right and what is wrong. And I felt that this was wrong. And therefore, I had to do something to see if I can be able to correct it. But like you know, an individual is not enough to bring about changes. So, that's what happened.
Okay, Chief. Let me ask you this. This question about your private experience. What do you think of, or about experience, the Nigerian soldiers? How courageous were they in the battlefield? How really courageous are they compared with the Biafran soldiers? Please.
They didn't have anything called courage. Mind you, the Nigerian army was made up of different ethnic groups. Mainly, the people of the Middle Belt were the people we fought against. Very few Hausas that were in the officers' ranks. A few Fulanis, the Fulani man will not fight you. They will send someone to go and do the fighting for them. So they were not a threat to us. The threat we had were the TVs, the Middle Belters, the region from where General Gowon came from. Those were the people that we fought against. And because they were properly and well armed, when we were shooting Mark 4 and Mark 3 and the Setim rifle, they were shooting HMGs and LMGs, light machine guns and heavy machine guns. They were shooting armored piercing bullets. They were equipped, they were armed. They had helmets. Mainly, we didn't have enough helmets. You're fighting with your cap or whatever you have wrapped over your head and tattered uniform, and we weren't well equipped. Not even by the equipments, uniforms, other things that the soldiers need to have to protect themselves. Protective gears, we didn't have them. But we had the will and the strength of a determined people. That's all he had. He had the will and the strength of a determined people. And we knew that there were enemies around us. And we have to fight. We have to stay vigilant. We have to stay awake. We have to be conscious. We have to know exactly what is happening at every minute of our lives. We have to stay awake. And we stayed awake. And those of us who didn't stay awake lost their lives. So, personally, it was a war of brutality. It was a war of genocide. It was a lopsided war. We didn't have the same thing. So we didn't have a level playing ground. So then it ended up, because the land was not level, we wore the brunt of it.
Mazi, Chief, a follow-up question, if you don't mind, on this topic you're treating now, which is what the question Mazi Jonathan asked. Okay, because you have said it over and over again, one cannot question the willpower of the Biafrans, especially the Biafran soldiers. It's obvious. You have made it categorically clear Now, I have a question, a follow-up question to this topic. Now, do you think that Biafran would have made a serious inroad in a positive way, probably delaying the what you call the defeat or the surrender of the Biafran, or eventually they would have been able to muster these, the equipment or the ammunition they need. Maybe probably if the war had dragged on, they would have been able to have some allies coming around them. So my question is, yeah, the Biafran soldiers were ill-equipped when it comes to military hardware, but they had the willpower, because I know willpower plays a whole lot of role in everything we are doing in life. But do you think that if the saboteurs had not played a major role in this war, do you think with the willpower, even though you guys were ill-equipped when it comes to military hardware, that you would have been able to make serious inroad towards the defeat of the Nigeria, or at least a serious stalemate, which could have attracted the attention of the international body, or probably drag the war to a place where round-table conference would have been needed? Mazi, please, if you can answer me.
It's a question of the chicken and the egg. Which one comes first?
Yeah, something like that.
If the war had dragged on and we were on even or a level playing ground, Nigerian government thought the war would be over in 24 hours. It didn't happen. They thought it would be over in 48 hours. It didn't happen. They thought it would be over in 4 days. It didn't happen. If we had a means of acquiring ammunition, military gears, and the civilians who weren't in the forefront being accorded the necessities of life and existence, maybe the fate of the saboteurs would have been infinitesimal. Because when you present a situation to a people, if it's not strong enough, it's possible to wear them down. Now, why would a saboteur decide to make a U-turn against his or her own people? If there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that begs the question: why would somebody betray somebody or a group of people that he started a fight with, if not for the need for resources that are scarce? If I go into the mind of a saboteur, my question would be: the two arenas of consideration, what are they? What are the pros and cons of my action? We're getting that now in the country. We have that. I told you I'm from our mama. My head of state, or my governor, or my Supreme Court governor, in the name of hopeless Uzodimo, why would he accept whatever he accepted to kill his own people, and for what purpose? Why would my governors give land to the Fulanis so that they can come and kill their own people? Now, in government, if you are elected to protect the people, you are the head security officer. If they have a constitution in that country, which I don't think they do, they would have known that you don't appoint administrators and call them governors, because governor has a track, has a delineation in the constitution of what they needed to do and how they needed to do them. Why is the country in such a turmoil? That's what we encountered, because Major Ifajuna and Major Banjo, Brigadier Banjo, they must have felt that this war is not going the way they wanted it to go, and somebody offered them a token or something and say, you do this for us and we give you this, and they will accept and betray their own people. Brigadier Banjo was a Yoruba and betrayed their own people. So it is a fight to the end. If we don't do it now, another 50 years will come, and some people who didn't know about what we're going through will rear up their head and start it again all over. But I would like to have it in my generation, which is not too long from now.
So, Chief, quickly, then I can use the Mazi Jonathan for the questions. So, because I'm trying to blink from what you just said, now, you know, as you answered, because something came to me. So, because this issue of sabotage has been a kind of, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I heard you very well, and you're very correct, which is what the Nigerian government has systematically done, continue to do. They ferment the ground, they prepare the ground by impoverishing the people, so that now they can use financial inducement, even though not everybody, but majority of the people are going into sabotaging because of financial inducement. So my question to you, Mazi, being somebody that have experienced the activities of sabotage during that era, and now you're watching it like unfolding before our own eyes again, like a deja vu, I'm asking you, what do you think we should do to curb, if possible, be able to curb the activities of the saboteurs? Now, I would like your attention to be concentrated mostly on us that are in diaspora, because they are the ones that now begin that fueling this sabotaging in our land now. They are the ones that are taking money and giving to our people as an incentive to go against the struggle. Meanwhile, all of us are clamoring, rightfully so, for liberation. How do we mentally get to our people to understand that our route they are going, even though it might look like an incentive, but that incentive is going to be short-lived, because a total freedom is what is going to give us totally what we're looking for. How do we begin to disengage or begin to combat the actions and activities of the saboteurs, especially from diaspora? Mazi, if you can help us, please.
Our slogan during the war was onye ndị iro gbara gburugburu na-eche ndị ya nche mgbe niile, ndị Biafra unu arahụkwala ụra. That was our slogan. And that slogan, if taken into deeper translation, it goes to tell you that you don't know who is who. The saboteur could be in your midst. And because we as a people love to flaunt what we have, Unlike other tribes in Nigeria, an Igbo man will first show na nwere ihe n'ụlọ tupu ọ pụwa ama. But some people will just buy a flashy car and they live in the gutter. Come in, dress up, get in their car, and you see them in their flashy cars and flashy gold and flashy ornaments. For our people to realize that we may be fighting a losing war, it's enough for them to make a U-turn and go against you. If you are in the system, we don't have a government. We just have a war of liberation. And in the war of liberation, there are people that will be focusing on not what is in it for the group, but what is in it for me, and which is an individualistic approach. And if they find out that there's nothing in it that they can see for themselves right away, they will be susceptible to sabotage. And what we see as those here in the diaspora is we're all struggling, we're all trying to make a living out of it, and someone comes in and gives you a humongous amount of money that you never expected you will make in the rest of your life. If your faith is not strong, if your head is not screwed on tight, the wide wind will blow it off, and you end up betraying your own God and King. So, will it be there? He'll be there. Even when Jesus Christ was on earth, one of the disciples was a traitor, was a saboteur, sold him 30 pieces of silver, not knowing what will happen. When he saw what will happen, he regretted it and wanted to give the money back, but now it was too late. He's done his duty. There is different tax assigned to different individuals in this struggle. All we have to do is be smart enough to screen out those that are there for their own private enrichment. Because if you don't, you will have them eating with them, and they are likely to poison you, they are likely to harm you, they are likely to betray you, they are likely to do things that they were asked to do to make sure that the struggle does not continue. Because it's a ton of flesh in their skin. What we are doing, like we say, plain and short. What we are doing is what has been ordained by Chukwu Okike Biafra for us to do. Ofogodu 100 people like Mazi Nnamdi asked, offer only 100 people, we will get Biafra. We will get Biafra. And God, in His infinite kindness, will separate the good from the bad. Whatever anybody does against God Almighty will boomerang, will come back to haunt them. But we have to be strong in our faith. We have to ensure that we don't stain our hands. We have to be sure that what we are doing and who we are doing it with are in line with what God expects and wants from us.
Chief, let me come in here.
In a nutshell, Mazi, what you're telling, advising us is identify them, identify the saboteurs, remove them from your midst. That's really what you're telling. In a nutshell, what I have for you: identify, get rid of them, because they're going to continue to poison the apple. Even if it's only 2 are left, let it be those who believe in the same, have the same mindset. Because if you continue to allow them, for whatever reason, to be among our midst, they become a thorn in our flesh. Thank you, Mazi. You answered rightly and smartly. I yield.
Okay. Chief, sir, let me ask also. Let me take us back.
Yeah.
As a Biafran soldier, how did you feel when you heard that the war was over? Where were you? Were you in action when the war was declared over? And how did you feel in your mind when you know that we lost it?
I was disappointed. At the same time, I was elated.
Disappointed? Sorry, sir. Disappointed in who?
Because I didn't think we should have lost the war. We should have surrendered. I wanted to fight to the last man. But elated because now those younger siblings that are dying of kwashiorkor can maybe have a reprieve in life. So those were two feelings that were not good, but they were feelings. And I think General Ojukwu was in the right frame of mind to make the right decision. He wanted to save the remainder of his people. We lost so many people. We lost so many children that would have been grown up and productive members of the society at this point in time. But we lost them. They didn't get a head start. So it is a bitter, sweet feeling that I don't want it to continue. I don't want to continue to feel that way.
Yes.
Right now, I've determined. And that is why, whenever I'm called upon, I'll do my very best with the least strength left in me to be able to at least effect a change. To be honest with you, Mazi Jonathan, there is no place for Biafrans in Nigeria. No matter how you spice it, there is no place. Even one aka
Mazi, because this brings me to my next question for your clarification, yes, because it will lead you into also saying what you are saying. Now, the war ended. It was a conventional war, pitched war, where you defend the territories verbatim. And I have had so many testimonies about BOFF, Biafra Organization of Freedom Fighting, or Freedom Fighters. Those that are trained to continue in case Biafra lost the war. There were people that have the capacity of carrying on guerrilla warfare. You know, because when we think, personally, when I think about this war and how it ended and nothing happened, it started ricocheting in my mindset that those that lead, the leaders of that time, they should have known that freedom fighting, no matter how brutal or brutalized we could be, it never stops. That there should be a way to continue. It doesn't matter how. But what surprised me as an individual, which I used to ask this, not even in IPOB, right from time when I started hearing the story, I say, why did they completely stop? There should be disturbances from place to place, guerrilla warfare, those that say, as you say, fighting to the last man. But unfortunately, everything stopped. And the think tanks of that time should have known that in a situation like this, if you stop, look at since 1970 till now, 1999, I think Wazirike started Masop. It was how many years? 49 years. You know, we are still subjugated. That is the way it should. You know, the think tanks of that time should have known that things like this should happen. So we should be ready to continue disturbances until they call for negotiation in any way. But everything just stopped, and we went. Our people, all of us, went into sleep to join the the Nigeria setting. The thing used to baffle me. It used to baffle me. Does it mean that our people were not able to see the future? What is the problem? Why people could not even, somebody, a captain, can take it into his hand and say, gather like-minded fellows anyhow, and be in the bush and be committing havocs in the anyhow. But it didn't happen. So what will you say about it? Because this question in my mind, I know it would be in many people's mind. Please, Mazi, go on if you have something to say about it.
What I can say about it, Mazi, is when you plan and organize a system that has no exit, you suffer the consequences of throwing in the towel inadvertently. The people, my generation, are not able to think that way. And because the war wore us down, and most people were just happy to go back home to their normal, to their fake or whatever you can term it, normal life. For someone to take up guerrilla warfare tactics or means of trying to achieve their end would have been a suicidal comeback mission. Because when the floodgate was opened, Biafra system was crushed down. Ojukwu left. General Effiong had to hand in the surrender. When that happened, the zeal in almost every soldier was diminished. The wind in our sail, so to say, was deflected. So we fell from the height to a hard rock. And we were battered, we were beaten, we were demoralized. Because we were sitting on the fence. Do we continue to fight and our people continue to die? Or do we give up the fight and then we are nobodies. Became an issue. Psychologically, everybody that fought that war was destroyed, damaged. There needed to be psychological processes to mend. PASD, those the things you saw, where you saw them, the things that happened, how you escaped, the bullet wounds and the flesh wounds, everything needed to be reprocessed. Instead, what do? We went back into school. I got back into Sacred Heart Secondary School, Aba. All of a sudden they asked us to pay tuition fee. I didn't have it. My senior brother didn't have it, so I had to pack up and leave school. I got sold into slavery by my own brother-in-law. Took me to Otabuno in Benin and collected money from the land, the farmers, and left us there. We stayed there until we worked for 2-3 months and we asked them, where's our pay? Oh, pay? Your countryman took money from us. You have to work until you make that money back. Isn't that slavery? That's slavery.
You mean it?
We said, okay, how much do we have to make? They said this is how much money they gave him because he took the money and went. He's of blessed memory right now, so you can't ask him to go and verify what happened. But my brother that was sold into slavery is still alive. So we worked, made money, packed up and left. Came back, I had to go back into school. Because I was doing class 3 before the war, we were allowed to go into class 4. And I didn't go into class 4 because I didn't come back when I was supposed to come back. So I had to go into class with people who were in class 1 before the war. So those are things that were, and while I was busy trying to mend my life, trying to see where does God want me to be and where should I be and what is out there for me in this world, in this life. Thinking about the war was something of a past memory for me. I didn't have to sit down and start thinking about the war, start thinking about the bushing, start thinking about. Do you know what is called Kwara? Do you know what it is?
Yes, I have.
It affected our uniforms, it affected our clothes. You have rashes and all over whatever you can tell, around your waist and around your thigh and your inner leg and man, we don't come out to have a shower. You don't have a shower. You change colors. If you were light in color, you became pitch black because of the death. So going through all that life and coming out and now seeing what has been going on, you try to put that behind your mind. When Mazi Nnamdi started, when it was started, I didn't know what he was even doing. I know there was myself, but what the heck is that? Until Mazi Nnamdi came up and said, this is what I want to do. And I know that if he's not a God sent, they have offered him enough bribery to make him shut this thing down. But he didn't take it. I realized that's someone to follow. That's someone to follow. There was a question before that I was asked about what if Nigeria was open and the war continued. If the war had grounded on without the embargo, without the stoppage of flights and seaways and land routes coming into Biafra, If he was there, this war would have been over in 2 years, because who would have gathered enough to drive them into their own backyards that they'll be wondering, why are we doing this? It would have been them to surrender and say, hey, you guys can go, we don't want you anymore. But you can't say to someone, go, we don't want you, but then when they want to go, you come back and start shooting them in the back. So if that avenue was open, well, that was your question, I believe. If that avenue was open, we would have gotten enough equipment, enough resources, enough, you name it, to the point that, look at what is happening in Russia and Ukraine right now. Russia did not know what they were going into when they invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022. They didn't know. They underestimated them. The same thing would have happened with the Nigerian government. They would have wondered, who planned this war and why did you plan it? Why didn't you let these guys go? The Western world is supporting Ukraine because Ukraine was a nation when another nation invaded it. We weren't. We were part of the nation. We decided we will go our own way. We don't want to be killed. We want to stay alive. And it's under the UN Charter that anybody who wants freedom from wherever they are in have the right to have that. But why are they dragging their feet? Why are they not supporting us? Why are they not looking to us or onto us? It's because Nigerian, take for example, when Nnamdi Kanu was apprehended or rendition from Kenya, the day he was going to court, sit at home was declared. The sit at home was declared, and when he was told about it, he said, "Oh no, this is not right. You can't be shooting our people on the foot. These are people you want to protect. You want to liberate them. You can't keep them hostage." Nigerian government jumped on that. Now they are sit at home every Monday. Even when he's not going to court, they sit at home now in the Biafra land. Why? Because people were exposed to people that needed money, and the government was prepared to give them that money to force them to keep on suffering our people. And my heart bleeds.
Mazi, before you continue, let me also say this so that you continue from there also. With the testimonies, witnesses, accounts, documents about Biafra war, we will summarize and say that Biafra war was the only war that was fought against the rules of war, where everybody, including the civilians, everybody we are targeted. Blockade A, land and sea. It is mind-boggling when you study or study the histories of other wars, even as of that time, because some people might be saying, no, it was that time now. No, there were corridors for civilians during the North Korea South Korea war, Vietnam War. Civilians were never blockaded from getting supplies. No, it is only we Biafran during the Biafra war that the whole world blockaded us. There's something. No, it is only we Biafran, during the Biafra war, that the whole world blockaded us. There's something America, Britain, and other countries into blockading Haiti, so that they rotten, so that there is decay, all of them. And while that, British Navy, American Navy, everything, they blockaded Haiti from.
Why are they not supporting us? Why are they not looking to us?
Fought Napoleon Bonaparte's army and won them in war to free themselves as slaves. But France was able to organize America, Britain, and other countries into blockading Haiti, so that they rotten, so that there is decay, all of them. And while that, British Navy, American Navy, everything, they blockaded Haiti from doing any business outside, either buying or selling, until France was able to force them into paying damages to them of $40 billion as of that time. I mean, 18th century, $40 billion. You know the words now. So all these things used to give us, like somebody like me, why are these international conspiracies? America fought a war of revolution. France supported them. You must have an ally. France supported them against their own British neighbor, for America to be free. Had it been France didn't support America, American revolution, maybe it wouldn't have been possible for them, because they were nothing compared to Britain. But when it comes to us, to black people, that is why if I'm speaking on this microphone, I feel bad, honestly, because of how the whole world ganged up against us, against the rule of war. So it gives concern. And there is something you said when I asked you the other question: why did we stop? Why didn't people continue? At least you said it is a bittersweet to continue. Our people will be dying, or to stop and become nothing, of which these are two difficult decisions. Today we are nothing in Nigeria setting. They relegate us into trying to prove ourselves how we are Nigerians. That is why we become downtrodden. That is why today Tinubu can come and insult us Igbos in Enugu. Anybody can insult us with impunity, and our politicians, our people, are always working to prove that they are Nigeria enough, or Nigerians enough. It is very sad and pathetic, honestly speaking. Mazi, please continue.
Well, if we continue this conversation, I don't think 2 years will be enough for us to wash out the stain. The war was not a war. It was a genocide of experimentation. The war was to us a war, but to the rest of the nation it was an experiment in ensuring that Biafra would not come to be. Because if you look at Biafra, a people of a region that were not acknowledged and approved, a people that showed the British government or the British Empire that they are a force to be reckoned with, a people that were ready to take scientists to the moon. They are a people that were ready to compete on all levels, on all fronts, with any content, with any entity in this world. They found a way to subdue us, and that was why they did not recognize us. The things they did to the Israelites is even worse or easier than the things they wanted to do to us. And they saw what was coming, and they panicked, and they got spooked. A people that had enough scientists to manufacture Ubuni and the Juku bucket. The people that were able to fly an aeroplane that has the wings busted, couldn't deploy. They landed on the belly of the aeroplane. The people that were determined to be on their own. The raw materials that they get from Biafra land, they would not have been able to. They saw that coming. They didn't want that to happen. There is a system, there is a world system set up such that raw materials will be coming from Africa, Biafra, and the surrounding to the Western world. That we have a people that can embezzle the funds and resources of a nation by one or two individuals and deposited in Swiss banks, in secret bank accounts, that when they die, nobody can be able to receive those funds. And those funds are used to create social welfare, livable conditions in most of these countries. Switzerland, everywhere. The amount of gold stored in Queen Elizabeth's gold vault is enough to make the whole world. But it is in one person's storage account. If you think about all these things and think deeply into what is going on, what has been happening, you will begin to understand that it wasn't just a war between Nigeria and Biafra. It was a war to make sure that those people who would develop and be able to say to themselves, okay, you want my gold? You wait till I refine it. I will get it from the ground where God has blessed. I will refine it and I'll go to your own market and I'll tell you how much you pay for it. As a matter of fact, I stopped drinking coffee when I was in secondary school. Reason? They come, we cultivate the cocoa seeds, the bean seeds, they come, they take them. They tell us how much they will pay us. The 100 weight. They take it back, they refine it, they ship it back to us as Nescafe. They tell us how much you will pay them to drink Nescafe or to buy a can of Nescafe. When I realized this, I said, that's it. I'm not going to patronize you guys. I know I'm a single individual. If I follow Bono Jike's slogan, boycott all boycottable.
Yes.
I started doing that. Up till now, I don't drink coffee. I don't know what coffee tastes like. I don't want it. Even though I'm here, they bring the coffee from Africa. They refine it. They bring it back to Africa. To begin with, they tell you how much your coffee is worth. When they measure the bag, they tell the poor farmers how much they will pay them for 100 weight. They take it back, refund them, they bring it back, they tell me how much I will pay them to drink their coffee. Baloney. I don't want it. So they are taking the resources in Africa, which they cannot produce in the West because of the weather, the soil, and what God has given us, the sunlight. They turn around, they use all those things, they develop their industries, their businesses, their technologies, and they come back and they tell you what you need to pay to have it. Look at the cell phone we're talking on now. The cobalt that you use in the cell phone, where is it extracted in the Western country?
Congo.
It's in Africa.
They're the Congo War.
So you go get it from Africa, you go use it and develop everything you have to develop, and you bring it back to us and make us pay. An iPhone is what about?
Mazi, are you still there?
I think he has a network problem.
Yes. I think, Wanda, if you have any other question or any other thing to say now, so that we close. Yeah.
Can he hear me? Chief, can you hear me?
No, it's out. I think he's having some network issues. Let me try to add him back, please. Meanwhile, yeah, if you have anything to say, so that we
round up, yes.
Yes. Let me try to bring him in.
If he can't work, we can reschedule.
Yes, I think he's back. He's back. Chief, can you hear us now?
Sorry, I got disconnected.
Yes.
Yeah, Chief, your network. Let me quickly,
because
listening to you bringing all these powerful points and everything. I have a quick question because we are trying to draw the curtain down a little bit because I think that's another engagement I have. Maybe Mazi Chinasa has too.
Sure.
So we can reschedule because I believe you have a whole lot you can bring, both inspirational. Yeah, I'm serious. Speaking as an elderly statesman, right one, and a lot you can advise us. So quickly, how do we? Because I believe personally that the problem, the phase where we are in this struggle is sanitizing the mind. Psychology. How do we orient? Is it there? Because I'm hearing something beeping. Can you hear? Yeah. So how do we orient our people? Engage. It's not everybody, but for us to be where you are trying to, explain now, we have to have at least 50 to 60% of our people mentally, psychologically be there to realize that we have been used. Mazi, it's not just the coffee, everything. Toothpick we use, the acacia tree is from us. They cut the trees, they take them down, they produce toothpick. The oil, the crude oil is the same thing. They take the crude oil, we cannot even refine it, even with the refineries we have, they take them, they bring back the finished product. So, how do we engage our people, the majority of the population of Biafra, to understand that we are part of our problem because we have allowed ourselves to be used as a willing tool? That what we are fighting is worth it because we have the resources. But we are allowing ourselves with all these things they have created, saboteurs, to disengage or to come in to disrupt the movement, so that they will continue to carry on and we continue to be slaves in our own country. That's number one. How do we engage the population to come to where you and I are talking about? That's number one. Number two, Mazi, is this. Number two question I have to ask. Mazi Ohamadike one of Biafra land, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This is my own perspective. I want you to agree or disagree with me. That there is something that has set his own movement apart, and that is the attraction somebody like me has. That's why I came into the fold for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. If you pay attention Not only does it have a structure, we have a lot of us in the diaspora who are fueling this movement. Even though some of them of us try to carve out as saboteur, I know that over time they're going to be fished out and weeded out. But I'm talking about the hardcore, because there's a question Mazi Jonathan asked you. Why was it that after, at the end of the genocide, that there were no people to carry on, even as a sporadic attacks here and there, or even the continue to educate people on the psychological level of it? And you answered and said that because people were traumatized. And I understand about trauma because of my training. I rightly understand about trauma. So they subdued us, traumatized us. But now we have a lot of us, people like Mazi Edoziem and all the structures Mazi has said apart. Because even what the pitch I'm making now is for Nigerian government to understand that there's a difference in this game now from what happened before. So I'm asking, do you agree with me? Because of this smartly movement Mazi Ohamadike did, engage a lot of us, or most of us from the diaspora, that even if Nigerian government, this thing they're plotting, trying to sabotage, bribing our people, no matter what happened, they may be able to dampen the movement, but it can never end this time, because we in the diaspora are not going to let go until we actualize Biafra. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Matt, if you can take these two questions for me, or I will stop here. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you, Wada. Yes, I agree with you in your number 2 question. In your number 1 question, which you wanted me to emphasize on how we can get 50 to 60% of our people to be able to agree and accept or discuss the fact that we are being used and we are using ourselves, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Yes. For lack of a better phrase, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Tell me an Igbo person that will be presented with a humongous amount of money and asked to betray the brother, that will not jump at it if his name is not Mazi Nnamdi. We don't have enough to make up the 50 to 60% of what we're looking for. If we do, we will subdue them. We will subdue the enemy. But we don't. Because one, when the war ended, there was rehabilitation, no victor, no vanquish, ideology that they didn't allow General Gowon to the head. They had to overthrow him because they see he was becoming very soft on the Igbos. Murtala Muhammad came in and took over, and he got killed. Someone else got killed, and then there were coups and counter coups in the country. Our people have been dealt enough raw and short end of the stick for so long that what they're looking for now is what is in it for me and not for us. They didn't want to continue when all this amount of money is flashed to them, and they give them flashy amount of money and build houses, and they give them cushy contracts that they get to undertake. That is one point. The other point is, we are a people that value what we have and what we don't have. Therefore, we fight tooth and nail to get at what we want. And don't dare you stand in my way when I'm shooting for the star. If you're in the way while I'm shooting for the star, I am bound to boil you down. And if anybody offers me any help to boil you down, I will accept. That is the mentality that is killing us. That's why we can't understand why the Western world and the rest of the world did not want to come to our aid. When they even saw that children are being murdered, children are being slaughtered, children and women are being set up to die, and dead bodies are being spread all over the whole place as if we have coronavirus. They don't say it because it is in their best interest to not say it than to say it. Because if they say it, it breaks their conscience. Some of them will be saying, do you remember the guy, the young man that burnt himself, poured fuel on himself and burnt himself down? Those were the intellectuals that realized that there is something not right here. But for us, and for those who are treating us, they are at it again. The saboteurs did it and they're still doing it. And we have people in it. And now we have people here who are following people like Simon Ekman. We have people following them, listening to them, declaring sit at home for 5 days before Christmas, knowing fully well that that is the life brand of the Igbo nation, of Biafra. People trade. We don't have the refrigerator in all houses, so we don't buy food and stuff unless they're dry food, like rice and beans and yam. The meat and the vegetables, you buy them and eat them once and you go again. So if you are sitting at home for 5 days in a row with one day break, people will die. People will die of starvation, people will die of hunger, people will die of everything, you name it. So I don't know if I answered your question. What?
Yes, you did, Mazi. You did. Thank you so much. I'm going to hear back from you.
Ndewo Mazi Chief Waribe.
Mazi Jonathan, are you there?
Yes. Sorry, I was speaking. I muted myself. I didn't know. Ndewo Mazi.
Oh, sorry.
I was speaking. I was talking anyway. Ndewo, thank you very much for talking to us today, and maybe we shall have part 2 of this, which will be another time. I don't know whether you have any departing shot, parting speech, words of encouragement of what we are doing, of which you said you are glad to be part of it today, that you are on it today also. We are more glad, so please go on so that we conclude. Go on, sir.
Okay. In conclusion, I would like to tell my people to keep on with what they have and to look at every person that claims to be in support of this struggle and find out what is their intended intention, such that we will be able to fight this war and win it. We want freedom for our people. We want freedom for Mazi Nnamdi, who has been set free by the courts of the law, the law courts of the nation. The appeal court has decided that this case is not worth it. Let this man go and pay him the liberation for holding him against his rights. But they don't want to abide by their own laws. Now, if you think twice about it, you can begin to realize that there is something fishy about this. You cannot bring someone from somewhere unlawfully and want your court to change it and blemish it and make it lawful. And the court is saying, no, we don't do that. You took him from the wrong place, in the wrong time, take him back where you got him from and pay him for bringing him, subduing him for this kind of torture and punishment. So if our people cannot say that, then it is an issue. It becomes an issue of who is in need and who is not. So saboteurs are apart, we have enough people to run the nation. The nation, by nation I mean Biafra nation. All right, that's my bit. You're surrounded by enemies, so you have to be vigilant. As always. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Well, one go on your pattern shot, please.
Yeah, quickly. Thank you, Mazi Chief. Commend you so much. The tenacity, making out the time, your intelligence, your memory, they're still sharp like a whip. I am going to ask, maybe you can call me Oliver Twist. I will ask that Mazi, you make out time for us to have this I call it discussion, needed one. Because I believe what we have done today is just taking a little crack at the bulk. You know, that's me, because I could sense there's a whole lot we can bring in. We are not even able to go into a lot of things, the political, the philosophical, the psychological, the rule of engagement of the war and your advices. So I'm looking forward to those things. So I'm asking if you can, let us know when next, at your convenience, we can converge again. And I believe our people will be willing and excited to listen and hear from you again. But I must thank you for today. As brief as it may be from my point of view, I know it's a whole lot of time mapped out for us from your end. But thank you so much for all the words, your advices. I believe that the leadership, if they are not listening, they will hear this and they will take some of the advices you're bringing to us. We must move forward. Therefore, we must actualize at this time, and I pray that you'll be alive to see it yourself. I pray for the same of me. We are on these stretches. We are not going to get out because there are a couple of variables that are different from the last genocidal war. That's what Nigerian government are not counting on. One, a lot of us are in diaspora. Now, there's something called social media, because one of the things they used in mesmerizing us or subduing us was blanketing news from getting out. So, social media, we've been in diaspora, and other things are counting on our own side. So yes, we are in for a long haul. I don't know how long it's going to be. We're going to win. Mazi Ohamadike, yeah, just like you rightly asked our people. This man has been discharged and acquitted by their own court. Even the Igbos, the so-called elite, are not asking questions. Why is the court, even if you don't like Mazi, why is the court not adhering to their own court of law decision? Now, if they can't do that, what are they telling you? Like, you use the word, I'm going to use your word, I'm going to back out. Something is fishing. But you know what? I want them to know, just like we say in our place, thank you all. God bless.
Thank you.
Biafrans are lovers of freedom. This is where we are going to come to the end of these discussions. And we continue inviting other veterans in order to tell us about their experiences during the war and what they think about what we are doing. But remember, we are not going to back down. That is one thing the Zoo must understand. Owazirike compromise. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu rose off. That is how it's going to continue until we get what we want, because today we are more enlightened than yesterday. We are highly more enlightened of our situations than yesterday. I repeat this again. In Nigeria, we will continue being nothing, because there is one sophisticated politics they are playing, or they have been playing with us. Our people thought that the war ended 1970, but Britain went into action as from 1970 till today for the real war of conquest, soft war of conquest. In Nigeria, we Biafrans, we will be nothing, continue being nothing. Only what they want is, just like Tinubu said, give you soaked bread, soaked, not even complete bread, soaked slice of bread. That is what they continue doing. Whereas trying to, making us always to prove that you are a real Nigerian, prove that you are a real Nigerian, prove that you are the tribalized Nigerian. And our people are always, their job is to make sure to sacrifice their own people just to prove to them that they are Nigerians enough. This is the worst part. That is why, had it been I was in existence and I had the opportunity or the privilege to be existing at that time, I would have opted that we continue that war. It doesn't matter the brutality. If I die, no problem. Others continue. Because the life we are living now is a miserable life in Nigeria. Many people might not understand, but that is the reality. Therefore, in this struggle today, it is not a conventional war. It is auche. It is not a pitched war or pitched battles, but non-conventional auche. Many things are involved, and that is how it will continue. Nigeria will continue bleeding economically, anyhow we can, in order to make sure that we liberate ourselves. That is what we assure our enemies. Thank you for listening. From me, Mazi Chinedu, together with Wada Marianti Heather and our guest, Mazi Chief Waribe. It is simply good evening.
Good day, y'all.
And we've got Commodore Kunle Olawumi joining us here this morning. He's the head Department of Criminology and Security Studies, Christland University, Nigeria. Good morning, sir. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, this is it's one of those blow your cheeks out moments, because lots of people, when they heard it, they just thought, no way, this can't be. But they just thought, well, in fact, some people thought it was fake news. Others thought, nah, maybe there could be some other explanation to this. And then the academy put up this press release saying, yes, it's been compromised. And here we are today. So details are emerging that raises more questions than answers at the moment. But
ich glaube, Erfolg ist immer eine Mischung aus vielen Faktoren. Es gehört mit Sicherheit eine Portion Glück dazu, die nicht zu unterschätzen ist, aber natürlich auch Talent, verbunden mit sehr viel harter Arbeit und Disziplin.
Tout en chacun la vie de tous les jours, je pense qu'on a tous besoin de ce soutien qui te motive, qui te permet de surpasser dans la vie de l'être humain. Je pense qu'on en a tous besoin. Donc voilà, moi personnellement, j'aime autant que tout le monde.
Bei all meinen Lebensabschnitten oder auch Veränderungen, nächste Schritte, hat mich natürlich meine Familie unterstützt, waren dann zum Teil einfach auch das Zünglein an der
that say, as you say, fighting to the last man. But unfortunately,
it's a question of the chicken and the egg. Which one comes first?
Yeah, something like that. If the war had dragged on and we were uneven or a level playing ground, Nigerian government thought the war would be over in 24 hours. It didn't happen. They thought it would be over in 48 hours. It didn't happen. They thought it would be over in 4 days. It didn't happen. If we had a means of acquiring ammunition
military gears, and the civilians who weren't in the forefront being accorded the necessities of life and existence. Maybe the effect of the saboteurs would have been infinitesimal. Because when you present a situation to a people, if it's not strong enough, it's possible to wear them down. Now, why would a saboteur decide to make a U-turn against his or her own people? If
the gate of defense headquarters is thrown wide open for everybody to come in and do Jumat, that is the time the terrorists have the time to profile our security environment.
Has that always been the case?
It has always been the case. I've served the military intelligence for the past 35 years. It has always been the case. Our problem is religion and social-cultural. I mean, people will expect me to come here and start talking about kinetics, about operation and so on. I've been an operational commander all my life. I've commanded warships, I've commanded troops, I've commanded men outside Nigeria and so on. But I'm not going to come to your station to discuss kinetics. The problem is not kinetics. In 2017, 2016, I'm always a member of the Security and Intelligence Brief at the Defense Headquarters. I told them, General Lawrence Shakin then, that the challenge we have in this country cannot be solved the same way we solved the problem of Niger Delta. The Niger Delta problem was solved during Yaradua time, basically by me. And I told them that we can't use that same template for Boko Haram. I told General Lawrence Shakin to look at the center of gravity of the problem. And we all came together. I was made a member of the committee, including Atahiru that just died was a member of that committee in 2016-2017. And we came to a conclusion after several arguments. The arguments were three. To identify the center of gravity of the problem, one group said it is the fighters, the Boko Haram fighters are the center of gravity, so we should go after them. Another group said the center of gravity of Boko Haram is Abubakar Shekau. So if we go after Abubakar Shekau, then the problem of Boko Haram will be solved. I took exception to the group. I said that is not the center of gravity of the problem of Boko Haram insurgency that we were having between that 2012 and 2017. And General Lawrence Shakin asked me, allow me, why are you giving problem? What is the problem? Give us the answer. And I told General Shakin that if I tell you the answer, you're not going to be able to solve the problem. He said, what is the problem? I said, the center of gravity of Boko Haram and insurgency in Nigeria are the sponsors of that program. It was beyond us. Because the job we need to do is kinetics.
knows sponsors of Boko Haram?
Of course, it's in the news. In April this year, the government said they have arrested 400 bureau de change related, people that were sponsoring Boko Haram. They told us. And Abu Dhabi but also helped us to arrest few Nigerians, tried them, we know them. Why can't this government, if not that they are partisan and they are actually part of, we couldn't pursue that aspect that could have resolved that problem? Because you need to arrest people. And recently, 400 people were gathered as sponsors of Boko Haram. Why is it that Buhari government has refused to try them?
So the government knows sponsors of Boko Haram?
Of course, it's in the news. In April this year, the government said they have arrested 400 bureau de change related, people that were sponsoring Boko Haram. They told us. And Abu Dhabi but also helped us to arrest few Nigerians, tried them, we know them. Why can't this government, if not that they are partisan and they are actually part of the charade that is going on, why can't they bring those people out for trial?
So the Bureau de Change operators on the one hand, but you particularly said people in government. Are those part of the Bureau de Change, or those people that you say are in government are still there, government is aware and government is condoning them?
The people I mentioned that are in government are not these ones they just arrested. You remember this Boko Haram issue started since 2012. Yeah. And I was in the military intelligence that time. We arrested those people. It is my organization that actually conducts interrogation and interview. And they mention names. I mean, I can't come on the air and start mentioning names of people that are presently in government now that I know. Presently in government. That the boys that we arrested mentioned. Some of them are governors now. Some of them are in the Senate. Some of them are in Asu Rock. Why should a government try to cause this kind of embarrassment and insecurity to the sense of what happened yesterday? And the solution I gave them in 2017, because when I identified the center of gravity for General Shocking, and they couldn't pursue it, because some of them were ministers. And what I'm saying now, the Department of State Services are listening to me. They know them.
Yeah, Commodore.
So the solution I gave them was that if we can't pursue the policy strategic level, because the people that we need to talk to are also, going to be difficult to deal with. I said what they should do now is to conduct two things. We should buy blames. The blames are not UAVs. They are not drones. Blames are equipments that can fly up to 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet, static if you want, mobile if you want, and they carry a lot of payload. We saw them in Afghanistan. We saw them in Kenya. This will be something that can give us real-time intelligence, and we can know where these bandits or terrorists, where they emanate from, when they finish operations that they've done, where they go back to.
Okay, well,
they did not buy this equipment up to.
Okay, you said quite a number of things. Let's pick up on some of them and see if we could make some, if you could shed some further light on some of them. Since 2012, I mean, you've been in operation, as you said, ever since that time. You questioned several people. Some people were identified at that time. Did the government at that time try any of them? Or were any of them also in government at the time?
No, the government did not try any of them, and the defense headquarters where I worked then did not pursue that line of operation because it's beyond them. The defense headquarters, actually, when you look at the defense structure of Nigeria, they lie within the policy strategic level. but basically they are operational guys. So when you have policy problem, then